Hello, this is Sky, and let's talk about murder. The kind of murder that lives in notebooks, plot lines, and Google search histories that definitely get on a watch list somewhere. Because sometimes when you're writing a story, somebody's gotta die. And if you're anything like me or my friends, deciding how, when, and why to kill a character isn't just a plot point, it's a full-blown moral dilemma. Do they deserve it? Will it hurt the reader or just make them roll their eyes? Does it push the story forward, or is it just for shock value? So today, I want to dive in to the art of fictional murder. What makes a good death scene? How do you avoid cliches? How do you kill off a character without killing your whole entire story in the process? Now, I could ramble on about this for a while, because trust me, I've written more dramatic deaths than I probably should have. But we've heard from me enough today. So I'm going to bring in a few minds that are a little chaotic in the best way and creative. They also genuinely stress me out, and sometimes they're written some questionable things in their lives. But I'm going to introduce my friends Liam and Ash, and let's get started. Why kill a character at all? What makes a death meaningful?
What makes a death meaningful? Dumb question.
Well, personally, I would say the build-up to it, no?
Sure. What makes a death meaningful? The placement in the story. If it feels like it's something that's necessary, or if it's something that's just been thrown in. If the character is someone you're attached to, or if the character is someone that's just been thrown in there purely to exist as a dead body. The audience isn't going to feel bad for someone they've never seen before. You show them a dead body, you tell them this man has been stabbed 37 times. They're going to go, okay. Now if you show them that same man having conversation with your main character, and then all of a sudden your main character discovers that same man dead, doesn't mean a whole lot, but it means more than it would if they didn't see him ever before in their lives.
When does killing a character feel cheap, and when is it powerful?
Ooh. That's a good question, actually.
Thank you very much. Okay.
That's a good question, actually.
You already said that.
Yeah, I'm reiterating it because that's a good question, actually.
Okay.
An example of a cheap death would be something that happens off screen that you're hit with later down the line for no reason at all. A guy I used to write with would, on occasion, just get sick of his characters. He'd played them for too long, and then he would just decide he wasn't interested in them anymore. So he would turn up, and we'd go, hey, what happened to this character? And he'd say they died. They got hit by a car last week. Like, what? Nobody sees it coming. Nobody hears anything about it. And then all of a sudden, this is the fact that we're left with, and we're just left to deal with that. It feels cheap because you don't get to see what happened. You don't get to feel what happened. You barely even get to know. We're not the ones that ask about powerful deaths. Have I ever written a character's death before?
I've never written a good... You know what was a powerful death? It wasn't actually a death, but it was a really powerful scene.
That's true.
It was really stupid, and it was the stupidest way I've ever heard someone get hurt, but it was also really powerful in the way that it turned some people against other people. We saw a lot of character development, and we're still seeing some with Mal, like, what do you mean this person got an anvil to the head on April Fool's Day?
And everyone else trying to avoid the question.
Yeah.
It almost feels like a death in a way, because you're left with this super heavy incident and the question of will he ever recover for a solid while, you know? You don't know if he's dead or if the old version of him is dead, so to speak. So in a way, it almost was a death.
You're right. It really is just this looming feeling of death. Because that's kind of what happened.
The presentation matters. The presentation matters a lot with a death. Because, as opposed to the example of turning up and saying your character's been hit by a car off screen, and showing the panic in the group of characters when one of them reveals that for April Fool's Day, she, not knowing what humans are like, because she's an alien, set up an anvil outside the back door for the first person that walks through, because she saw it on TV. Because that happens in cartoons all the time. So when someone steps outside and literally has an anvil dropped on their head, when the ensuing scene is chaos and a gruesome description of what happens to his head, that's powerful. That's impactful. Because I've been thinking about that. I'm thinking about how the characters react, and I'm thinking about how the characters who've never lost their cool in that moment. Because what do you do when your friend's head is
bashed with an anvil?
part of your ground, part of the floor now.
Oh, I keep rereading that scene and I'm how to feel like you get that pit in your stomach and you're just like, oh my god, this character's gonna die. And it's like, even rereading it now that I know that he's not going to die, it's still like, oh my god, he's gonna die. Because of how well it is written and how amazing the characters around him. I don't think that scene could have been any better with any other writers. I think the way everyone pulled it off. I wasn't in that scene, but when I read it, it was so impactful and just awesome.
That's part of the atmosphere of it, is creating a sense of urgency, the feeling that of chaos, that something is going to happen, someone's going to die, and something bad is happening, as opposed to just, we've discovered a dead body, woo-hoo, or we discovered a guy with an anvil on his head, oh no, someone should call 911, as opposed to, oh my god, what happened to you? It's, a lot of it is in the presentation, what makes it powerful.
Okay. I have another question. How brutal is too brutal? Can a scene be too brutal?
Brutal is too brutal. Coincidentally, the same person that wrote the anvil scene is kind of known for writing scenes that are overly gruesome when they don't need to be. I've seen them do it plenty of times before. They could have just left it at, oh, owie, that hurted. But they decided to describe the way that his face was plastered to the ground underneath the anvil, the way that it was gruesome, it was nasty. It wasn't too much, but it was a lot. There was another scene that they wrote in the destruction of a building where everything kind of exploded and burned, and someone fell down an elevator shaft and burned alive and was still alive at the end. That was a lot. The image they conjured up of the burnt flesh, the not really resembling a person anymore, creatures still moving, it was... I do not wish to think about that again. There is a line. I feel like if you significantly cause your beta readers, so to speak, to... maybe you should dial it back a tiny bit.
I really enjoy reading gruesome scenes.
Weirdo. Okay.
Fair enough. On occasion, it can be kind of fun to read these sort of things, but you have to be sparing with them. You can't have every other scene where something violent happens be, hey, look at this character getting absolutely mutilated for no reason, which is also a dangerous area to venture into, because everything happens for a sort of reason. You can't just say, I desire this character burning alive for no reason other than because I want them to. This character that suffered this gruesome fate, mind you, was a terrible, terrible person, so it was almost satisfying to watch in a way. But at the same time, if even a character that horrible getting that gruesome of a death earns that much of a reaction from me, it might be a little much.
Have you ever killed someone you didn't want to?
Only one time, but I'm not supposed to talk about it anymore. My lawyer advised me not to. Oh, I'm sorry. We're still talking about characters, right? Have I ever... I really don't tend to kill my characters.
Yeah,
I have a
because you
problem.
love them too much.
Exactly. My issue is I like my characters too much. So, whereas some people, again, the one known for the gruesome scenes, will kill their characters with no hesitation. They will mutilate, they will kill them, they'll do whatever they want to, simply because they can. Want to. They'll do terrible things to them and feel no remorse because they're not real. It's real to them. Okay, these are real people in their own fictional world that are being traumatized by what you're inflicting upon them as a cruel god.
What do you mean you wanted to throw Jared down the stairs 3 times?
It was funny.
You threw him down the stairs 3 times, and you're complaining about gruesome deaths?
Are you kidding me? He was perfectly fine every time he fell down the stairs. He hurt his knee or something one of the times. Big deal. And now he's afraid of the stairs. Big deal.
He thinks the house hates him.
It does.
Yeah, that tracks.
That does track.
He's him.
Exactly. Everything hates him. It's kind of his thing.
Have you ever
I don't kill people.
refused to kill a character?
Oh, yes.
Mm.
I've been hit on more
For-
than one
for like a-
Me?
for like a good reason.
For a good reason. There was a large event that happened at one point where a bunch of characters died. It was supposed to be the end of this rendition of the world, the end of this season, before we could reset everything back to square one. And there was a big explosion, half of the world got destroyed, and everyone's characters were dying in fires, and they died in the initial blast, and they died from this thing and that thing and whatever else. But of all the people that died, only one or two of mine died. I had a large handful of characters, and very few of them died in that initial incident because I did not want to part with them, even though I was going to get them back soon. So I'm very stubborn. It's hard to get me to budge on killing my characters because I don't want to see them go, because unlike some people, I care about the people that I create. The only one of my characters that I'm ever really willing to kill is Jeremy, because he can't die. He can be sort of killed, but he always just respawns, essentially, or he avoids death at the last second. That's his whole thing. So if you want to put him in a situation where he'll die, I'll usually say yes, because it won't be a permanent thing. It'll be a short, oh no, he's dead, until he comes back again the next morning. No big deal. Even still, though, if you want him to be dead, that's going to take a lot of work, because that's not the kind of thing that he does. So even the characters I will kill, it's not easy. Unless they're a throwaway, then they're done for. Right away, they're done.
Have you ever made a throwaway character that you have fallen in love with?
I think some of my characters were definitely not supposed to be as major as I made them. I made them to exist for a specific plot point that ended up turning them into something more. Take Jared, even, as a character. He was supposed to be a character who existed as a short gag to piss off Jeremy. He showed up in his first appearance as his cousin. He showed up to tell him that someone in their family had died. He showed up to be an obstacle to Jeremy, to get in his way, to annoy him, to steal everyone he loved from him again. All that fun stuff. But after that little bit of a throwaway thing, I thought, I really like this character and I don't want to get rid of him. Because even though he started off as kind of a joke, I think that I can really work with his character, and so I held on to him, and I tweaked him, and I worked with him. And now he's my second major character, and one of my overall favorites.
Have your characters ever committed murder?
Plenty of times, certainly.
Too many.
Has anything stood out more to you? Any character in specific?
I think that when it comes to a character committing murder, when it's... You can focus on the murder, you can focus on the character committing it. Sometimes committing a murder can be done as a thing to mess with the character's head. Sometimes it's to move along their story or to move along another story. I have a character who's a detective. I have a character who is part of the mafia, essentially. I have characters who've killed people by accident and don't like to talk about it. These sort of things, well, most of my characters have killed someone, actually, but most of them have done something like that. The reasons for these things happening, though, they change. Like, obviously, the detective has killed a criminal or two, because that's what you get, especially in a world as messed up as theirs, where every other person has magical abilities. You never know what you're gonna get. Some other characters will kill so that they can be caught by said detective character, and then presumably kill themselves. Other characters, like Jared, again, this doesn't quite count, but he thought he killed them initially. He hit someone with his car. That's a running joke. He hit someone with his car and thought they were dead. And as soon as he realized they were still alive, completely switched up his act and realized he needed to cover this up because he didn't want to be seen as a murderer. Which, it was a thing that weighed on him for a while. It wasn't just a throwaway, oh, I hit someone with my car. For weeks and months of time after that, every time he stepped out of the house, he was afraid he was going to find that person that he hit. He was afraid that it was going to come back to bite him, because why wouldn't it? And eventually it did.
Do you have any murder plot points right now that you can talk about with us?
I suppose I do, actually. Some characters, a murder is a throwaway activity. Sometimes you just decide, I think this character needs to kill someone to move along their plot, or I would like to see this character die. I would really enjoy seeing this character put a gun to this other character's head and pull the trigger. Sometimes you think that, and sometimes you think, well, in every world there's going to be the famous killer, there's people who you hear their name in a passing conversation. Even if you don't follow the world of crime, you know who that is. That's exactly the kind of thing that I've been trying to create with my character, Ezra. Ezra is supposed to be one of those big name killers where he pops up in every story of true crime you've ever heard. Trying to create the next Ted Bundy, essentially, yes. So I've been working on crafting his story into something that works, because with this kind of thing, you can't just say, he killed a bunch of people and he got away with it just because the narrator said so. That's not how that works. In real life, there are real forces looking for these people and trying to get rid of them. So obviously, there's going to have to be some level of skill and precision that an actual serial killer is going to have to pull off, even in fiction. Which is where a lot of the unsavory research comes in, and which is why I am almost definitely on a watch list. Because for this particular killer, unfortunately, I decided I needed to go the precise route, and I can't just have bro's been stabbed an uncertain amount of times for some reason. Because I, being the annoying writer I am, created a character that does everything to the letter exactly the same every single time. I also create impossible situations for other people to work with based on the same principles of my own characters. Because before I can do anything, I need to have everything about the interactions prepared. I need to think, everything this character is doing is deliberate, so why is he doing this? Why would he kill that person specifically? Why would he want this person in particular to help him in his plan to escape? These are all of the questions. If he's already been caught and locked away, why would he want to get out there again? And how would he go about doing that? These are all the questions I need to ask. And all the questions I don't have the answers to. I've also haven't mentioned yet that Ezra is the father of Jared and Jeremy, who are twins.
We'll go more in depth about the gay house later. That'll be like a 20-minute long episode.
Make a whole episode on it, if people will listen to it. Leave some kind of comment if you're interested in any of what we just said.
Or if you would like us to shut the hell up.
Please tell us to shut up so I don't have to do this ever again.
This was your idea!
Help me! With all this in mind, the secret to writing a good murder is to not be cheap with it, to know when to place it, and to not overdo it on the gruesome bits, but to not leave so much out as to it sounding flat and boring. And having a background, making sure your killer has a motive rather than just because they felt like stabbing some random guy on the street. Something specific. You could even say that they felt like stabbing the 12th person they saw on the street because they have a connection to the number 12. With the motivation that I was thinking about. So,
Yeah.
It's all about the character, what kind of character they would be, but it's important to think about their motives, how they would deal with this, if they've done it before, how it's going to affect the character, and how it affects the characters that have to deal with it afterwards, and how it's going to affect your search history later.
Couldn't have said it better. Bye!